नमस्कार दोस्तों, आप सभी का स्वागत है। फ्रेंड्स, AIBA और EOB की मीटिंग 23 सितंबर 2022 को हुआ था और उन्होंने रेजिडुअल इश्यूज के बारे में डिस्कशन करने के लिए वो इकट्ठे हुए थे। फ्रेंड्स, उसके बारे में वर्कमैन यूनियन ने अपने डिटेल्ड पॉइंट वाइज डिस्कशन ऑफ मीटिंग का भेजा है, जिसको मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ। इस सर्कुलर का मैं लिंक भी आपको दूंगा डिस्क्रिप्शन में, जिसे आप डिटेल स्टडी भी कर सकते हैं। डिस्कशन विथ IBA ऑन रेजिडुअल इश्यूज, ये सर्कुलर 24 सितंबर को जारी किया गया है। फर्दर टू डिस्कशन हेल्ड ऑन 1 जुलाई 22, another round of discussion took place on 23rd September between IBA and 4 workmen unions, AIBA, NCB, NOBW and INVEF ऑन द रेजिडुअल इश्यूज। और IBA की तरफ से चेयरमैन नेगोशिएशन कमेटी मिस्टर MP राव सेंट्रल बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के MD थे, और बाकी हमारे चारों यूनियन के नेतागण। 5-day बैंकिंग, वी रिट्रिएटेड आवर डिमांड फॉर इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ 5-day बैंकिंग, that is declaring all Saturday and Sunday as bank holidays. The impact of this introduction on banking hours and total working hours was discussed. IBA stated that if the customer service hours and working hours per day are properly compensated, redistributed and readjusted due to the declaring remaining Saturday as holidays, they may be inclined to consider the demand. We have informed that business hours and working hours may be revised by half an hour per day, and accordingly the commencement of the working hours may be preponed in the morning. It was agreed to discuss this issue further. Updation of pension. We demanded that pension should be updated at the earliest and suggested that if cost is the issue, the updation can be done in a phased manner, beginning from the pensioner of the earlier settlement, 5th, 6th and 7th bipartite, and with a mutually agreed roadmap to cover pensioner of the subsequent settlements. IBA, while stating that pension needs to be improved, particularly for those who retired between 1986 and 2002, repeated their earlier stand that updation of the pension involves additional cost of the funding and payout, and hence wanted alternative suggestions which may not cost much strain on the pension fund. We have suggested that IBA should work out the additional cost involved each settlement wise so that decision can be taken based on the same. It was agreed to discuss the issues further. Ex gratia for the pre-1986 retirees surviving spouses. We demanded that the ex gratia paid to the pre-1986 retirees and their surviving spouses be increased, linking to their advanced age, medical requirement, etc. IBA was sympathetic to our demand and agreed to discuss the issue in the managing committee and resolve the same amicably. 4th point, improvement in the pension scheme. Improvement in the scheme, like incorporating a clause in the pension regulation to provide for the periodical updation of the pension along with wage revision of the service employees, officers, full pension at 50% of pay to be given on retirement after 20 years instead of present 33 years, calculation of pension based on average of the last 10 months or last 10 months pay, whichever is advantageous to the retiree, etc., were taken up to the IBA informed that all these issues need amendment to pension regulation and may not be accepted at this stage. इसके बाद जो 4th point, let's change in DA scheme shifting of base year 2016 is equal to 100. Since the government is publishing only the consumer price index on 2016 is equal to 100 series, we suggested that our DA scheme can be accordingly modified. IBA informed that this issue can be further worked out and taken up in the next wage revision process since the same will be become due shortly. Allocation to Staff Welfare Fund. We reiterated our demand that the allocation to Staff Welfare Fund be made based on operating profits of the bank in lieu of the net profit, as it at present. IBA informed that the issue has already been taken up with the government for revised guidelines and would be further followed up. Increase in conveyance allowance for employees with disabilities. IBA had earlier agreed that the allowance would be increased from 400 per month to 600 per month, subject to the approval of the government. During the discussion, IBA informed that the matter has already been taken up with the government and the same is being followed up. We requested IBA to expedite the same. A special allowance to be paid in Northeast Sikkim, J&K, Himachal Pradesh, as is paid to government employees. We pointed out that the issue is pending for a long time and should be resolved expeditiously. IBA informed that the matter requires necessary approval from the government and the cost implications are also to be properly examined. We pointed out that the undue delay in the matter is not acceptable and hence the same needs to be resolved without further delay. Clarification of fitment of ex-serviceman employee. In terms of the clause 4C of the 11th bipartite, the fitment under 10th bipartite already given to ex-serviceman employee who joined the banks between 1st November 17 to 11th November 20 should be protected, and the clarification should be given to the banks by IBA, as some of the banks are not implementing this provision properly and resulting a huge recovery for the concerned employee. IBA agreed to discuss our contention in the personal committee to issue their clarification. Reply to clarification sought by banks. We pointed out that the various banks have referred certain issues to the IBA seeking clarification on implementation of the wage revision, settlement, joint note, and the same is pending at IBA level. Importantly, clarification on stagnation increment are to be given without delay. IBA informed that an FAQ guidelines would be issued at the earliest. Improvement in the medical insurance scheme and reduction in premium for retirees. IBA informed that the process of renewal for the ensuing period 22-23 has already been completed, but would continue its effort to fine-tune the policy, which will result in reduction in premium. Our suggestion for option to retirees to include their parents by paying additional premium would be taken up with the insurance company. Uniform banking business hours in the branches. We suggested that IBA should give its guidelines to all banks and SLBC, suggesting a uniform number of hours of cash transaction hours, business hours within the total working hours. IBA suggested that this issue could be considered along with the discussion on 5-day banking. Exemption of retirement benefits from income tax. We took up the issue of exemption of retirement benefits, particularly gratuity, leave encashment, additional 4% of contribution to NPS, etc. from the purview of income tax. IBA replied the issue needs to be taken up to the government as it is not within their domain. With regards, your comradely C.H. Venkatachalam, Sanjeev K. Vandis, Manmohan Das and O.P. Sharma. फ्रेंड्स, यहाँ पे सारे पॉइंट्स के अलावा दो मुख्य पॉइंट्स, 5-डे बैंकिंग और पेंशन अपडेशन। 5-डे बैंकिंग, ये मामला पिछले 5 साल से पेंडिंग है और अभी तक IBA ने अपना कोई भी प्रपोजल या रिकमेंडेशन गवर्नमेंट को नहीं भेजा है और दे वांट फर्दर डिस्कशन। इट मीन्स दे हैव नॉट डिसाइडेड एट डेट वर्किंग आवर्स का जो भी कैलकुलेशन जो भी करना है वो इट शुड बी डन। अदरवाइज ये अब पिछले 5 साल से पेंडिंग है, क्या अगले 5 साल तक भी पेंडिंग रखेंगे? क्या 12 बाइपार्टाइट के साथ इसको स्टार्ट करेंगे? यानी कि ये प्रपोजल विदाउट डिले जाना चाहिए ताकि इसका इंप्लीमेंटेशन विद इन 1 या 2 मंथ हो जाए, तब तो बात डिस्कशन की होती है। बात करते हैं पेंशन अपडेशन का। पेंशन अपडेशन का वही रोना, कास्ट ऑफ फंड, पेंशन फंड और वर्डन, लेकिन रिजोल्यूशन कुछ नहीं। और अब फिर यूनियन की तरफ से आया प्रपोजल कि हम 5th, 6th, 7th बाइपार्टाइट को लें, बाकी फेज मैनर में करें। यानी फिर देयर इज ए कैटेगराइजेशन ऑफ द पेंशनर्स फॉर द पेंशन अपडेशन। और अगर एक बार कैटेगराइजेशन हो गया तो बचे खुचे पेंशनर अगले 30 साल तक भी उनका अपडेशन नहीं होगा। और सारे पॉइंट्स पे IBA ने जैसा कि पहले भी रिप्लाई देती थी, अब भी वही रिप्लाई देती है और हमें लगता है कि आगे भी यही रिप्लाई देगी। इंस्टेड ऑफ settle the resolve the problem, they are only discussing. Thank you friends, namaskar.